Hey guys, welcome back to Simple C10. On today's episode, we're going to install the GMSS inner fender panels onto Lucky. So if you've been keeping up with this build, you have seen that I've installed the inner fender covers that are on the outside that covers up the little hole that we cut with the simple guide. Now Otis and his team over at GMSS have made some inner fender covers to cover up those factory inner fenders, the firewall panels, the inner fender covers. This is really going to tie in all the under the hood stuff on this truck. So I'm really excited to get these installed. I've been wanting to get them installed for like 2 months now, but things have just been crazy getting ready for C10 Nationals and getting everything ready to go on the website. Because if you don't know, now you know I went full time with Simple C10. It's kind of stressful. I'm excited about it, but that means I can put out more content, answer more questions. Feel free to email me, call me, message me on Facebook. I would love to help you get the parts that you need and to help you build your truck. But with that being said, let me go ahead and show you what we got going on with Lucky, and then I'll break down what the inner fender panels look like, what's the different stuff that's going to be used to install the inner fenders. I'll go over all that. So stay tuned and let's install these inner fender panels on Lucky. Before we jump in, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for all your support. C10 Nationals was awesome. Getting to meet some of you, checking out your rides. Hey, I do this to help the community out. I get to have a lot of fun with this, and it's because of your support. So thank you so much. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button, give me a like, post a comment, let me know where you're from, what you're working on. I love that. Even if you don't plan on installing these inner fenders, stay tuned to find out about a lot of new stuff that's going on with the channel, the website. I'll give you guys a shop update, building a new shop attached to the house right here. We're going to check out the 60 that I posted about earlier. So stay tuned and check all that stuff out. Let's hop in. There's those inner fender covers. They bolted in. I put some black hardware in there. You just drill and riv nut, or you can just self-tap it. I like to use the riv nuts in here. That way I can unbolt this anytime and pull it out. There's the simple shocks right there, and those just bolt in as well. It comes with the brackets, upper and lower brackets. You just drill a couple holes and bolt it in. And this is the part that we're going to cover up today, and I'll show you the inner fender covers in just a second. But your factory inner fenders, these don't look too bad. I tried to clean them up and paint them, but some of these look really rough depending on what kind of truck that you're building. So these panels are going to bolt in and cover this hole in the firewall, and then it's going to cover all this section right here, and it's going to make it look like the inner fender. So from a glance, when you're looking at this, it's going to look like you have full custom inner fenders because it's going to cover up all your factory stuff. We've got to take out the master, unbolt that to bolt in the panel, and then the master will bolt in. The good thing is I reached out to Otis and I told him this steering rod, I didn't want to have to take out the steering column and all that kind of stuff to mount up the bracket. So he arched the inner fender around the steering. That way you just have to pull out the master and bolt it up. So I'm hoping this is just a couple hour project today and we can knock it out and it will look awesome. Here's the inner fender covers. So they have a slight bend to them to match the factory contour, and then they have the holes to bolt them in. And again, these are just covers that are going to hide your factory stuff. He's notched it to notch out where the battery box is. This is the passenger side panel, and it's going to hide all this. You can go back through like I'm going to do and cut a couple holes for the vintage air that's going to go through there. So that'll look really clean. And then on these, he's got the hole where your factory electrical goes, and then for the master cylinder, and then this is the notched out piece that I was talking about for the steering column. So you don't have to take out the steering column, because that was going to be the hardest part of doing this, is taking out the steering column. Check out this license plate. I got this at the Redneck Rumble a couple weeks ago, but it's for the 60. And the 60, it matches it perfect. It's the same colors. It says 60 on there. It just looks awesome. I can't wait to bolt that in. It's going to match the truck perfectly. If you haven't seen the door panel video, I'll give you a little shot of that right now. My buddy Eric from Threadshed here in Murfreesboro wrapped these factory door panels, and they turned out awesome. I bought this little pull right here from LMC, but it ended up matching. He also wrapped the visor, but just a few little things with the Snowden seat in there, it really tied it all together. And then next behind the seat is going to be that AIC sub box with 2 JLs in it. I got that from Slosh Subs. So that's what's going to be coming next after this. I'm going to be installing the sound system in Lucky. It's going to have 2 JL10s with a JL amp. The sound system that I'm installing on this truck is going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a Bluetooth only setup. So the amp, the JL amp that I bought, came with a Bluetooth plug-in that hooks to your phone through Bluetooth. So I can play any music I want through Spotify or anything like that through the actual system. So I'm going to plug in some 4x6s, some kick panel 6.5-inch JLs, and then the 2 10s behind the seat. It's been, gosh, since high school since I've had some subs in my truck. So I'm going to be jamming out to some old tunes, and I can't wait to share all that with you. Here's the stuff that I'm going to use to install the panels. I'm going to start out the install with some of these self-tappers that I had laying around. I'm going to self-tap the whole panel in. And the reason I like to do that is the self-tapper holes then become the holes that I will drill out to a bigger size to use the riv nuts. I like to get everything bolted in so I know where the holes are is where it's supposed to go. If you tried to just mock it up and trace the holes and drill them, it's hard to get everything lined up, so I like to use these. Once I get everything screwed in with the self-tappers, then I'll take the panel off and I will just drill the hole to the size that you need to install the riv nuts. If you've watched my videos before, you've seen that I've used riv nuts a lot. You just need a riv nut tool, something similar to this. I've got a bigger one that you've seen in other videos. This one is just a right angle one that gets into tighter spots. Drill the holes out, use the riv nuts, we'll clamp those down. Then we'll use this nice hardware to bolt everything in. That way we can take these in and out anytime that we want. The riv nuts, the only thing I don't like about them is under the truck you can see where the riv nuts are, and that's just one little thing. But if you had a bolt in there, you would still see the bolt with the nut on the back side. These allow you to not have to get up under the truck and try to get a nut on the back side of this. And I don't want to just self-tap them in, because then the self-tapper, you can see that on the back side and it might have a sharp point. These, they compress really nicely, then the bolt comes through, and it's just a more clean finish, I think. But you can install these any way that you want. If it's just a patina truck that's kind of rough and you just want to shoot a self-tap and screw through it, go for it. This one's a little bit nicer of a truck. I've finished everything out on it so far, so I want to just keep it looking clean. I've just got a little impact with a socket on there, and then this for the self-tappers. But that's it. It doesn't take a lot to do this. Most of the work is just going to be drilling all the holes and putting the riv nuts in there. Actually, I gave it a little look-see over, and that panel will slide right into here, and I think I can get to all the different holes to be able to drill it. That way we don't have to even take out the battery tray here. So that's preferable anyway, because the battery tray, you got to get in here and unbolt all that stuff. So let's try to put it in with the battery tray and save ourselves a little bit of time. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of lay it up in there and then start self-tapping it into the actual panels here. Let's go ahead and air this truck up a little bit. Air ride won't air up without a battery in there. That might be helpful. Let's slide the battery back in there. This is going to be the first panel with the little section cut out on it here. Best way to do this is to slide it in around the fender. Make sure to slam it up against everything along the way and scrape the nice powder coating off. That's a pro tip there. But if you'll go ahead and slide it in, kind of get it into place. And since I have the simple shocks on here, I'm going to put this right up under the simple shock right there. And this will fit with the simple shock, no problem. Slide it up in there. And I'm going to match this body line with this bend right here and try to push it up as far as I can. I'm going to run a couple self-tappers through the top and then go around and just work my way all the way around it as much as I can. I do see a spot right here that has 2 spots for a rev nut hole, but that's not going to bolt in. I'll show you that in just a second, but I can just tell by looking at it. So I'll just put a piece of hardware with a nut on the back side of it to just fill in that hole. I'll let Otis know on those that there's actually not a place to bolt those in. Let me grab my drill. Just going to wiggle it around a little bit. Slide it up in there. Now, when you first install these, the contour is not going to be perfect, so you're going to have to kind of push down on it to get it to form. But it's just a piece of sheet metal. You can get it to shape the way that you want. I'm going to go ahead and zip this one in. No, I'm going to... Yeah, check that out. Once we get all those screws replaced with the black hardware, it's going to look awesome. Here's the couple holes that I was talking about right here and right here. They're not going to bolt in, which they're solid. They're in there really good. But I think that I'll let Otis know that these two don't actually need to be there. If he just kept that seamless, that way you have your battery in there and it will finish it off really nicely. But all the other holes worked out really good. They self-tapped in there tightly. But that's one panel. That looks awesome. This may get some negative feedback, but this is just an observation here. So I usually always use these riv nuts. So I'll use the self-tapper, I'll self-tap it in. That will give me the hole. I'll drill a bigger hole and I'll put the riv nuts, then I'll go through and I'll clamp all the riv nuts, and it works great. I love it. I use it for the bedwood, I use it for the inner fenders. I'm a riv nut fanboy, but I just took one of these self-tappers out of the front and I just put... There we go, dropping bolts again. Let me get a, I don't need the loop. There we go, okay. All right, got the bolt. So I just unbolted one of these 1/4 inch self-tappers here, and I just used the drill and drilled this directly into the hole that left, and it drilled in there tight. I mean, real tight, as tight as this riv nut would have. Unscrewed it and screwed it in multiple times. It didn't make the hole get bigger, and it really tightened it in there. So if you're trying to save some time, I don't think it's necessary to run these riv nuts just for these covers. The covers, again, they're just laying on there. I think if you're using this type of self-tapper, you can just screw this directly into the hole that you just made. It's a little bit tight, but then it starts to thread on the sheet metal and pulls in tight. Just don't get your impact and go crazy with it where it warps the metal. I just kind of went in there slow. You'll see I'm about to use it for all these inner fenders, but I think that's a great way to save time, and I don't think it weakens it any. Yes, I'd prefer to put these into all the holes. Some of them's kind of hard to get to. I might go back and put riv nuts and everything, but right now I'm just going to take these out individually and replace it with one of these bolts and see how everything goes. You can always pull them out, drill the hole a little bit bigger and riv nut them, but we'll see how this works out. It might save some time. If you're like, Travis, that's dumb, man, you need to put the riv nut in there. Go ahead and put the riv nut in there. But on today's episode, I'm going to be using these. Have I gone nuts? Puts them in there tight. Man, that looks clean. I'm loving how these look. Guys, that's it. That is it. And it's in there and it looks great. Man, I'm pumped about this. This is going to look so good. I want to go ahead and put that panel on the back so we can see what all one side looks like. But this is really coming together nicely. This side is all wrapped up, so we're going to take this panel and it just covers this whole side of the engine bay. As you can see, I don't have the heater core or anything like that. I'm going to run vintage air on this, but I'm going to bolt this in, and then later on I can come back and cut the holes and put grommets or whatever I decide to do here. I might decide to put the vintage air hidden up under the fender. I'm not sure about that yet, but I want to go ahead and get the panel there, get it all cleaned up. I'm going to self-tap it the same way and then just zip those screws in there and hold it into place, and then we'll stand back and look at it and ooh and ah, because I know it's going to look awesome in here. This is just another great way to clean up the engine bay. Usually you have a little panel that covers up this and covers up this, and it looks pretty good if you plug the holes, but with all this stuff and the way I tried to clean it up, even with the small block cleaning up all the wires, I put all the wiring for the cool pack distributor all on the back side of the engine, but this is going to help cover all these holes. So on this one, I'm just going to play around with it for a second. I do see there's a slight curve in this that matches kind of where that bolt is, so I want to match that. And the main thing I'm looking for is paying attention to where those screws are going to go into. On Francis, it was up higher and the screws went through this little tab right here. Great. This screw is going below this part here, where on Francis it was up higher. You could move this all the way up, but then you're going to get into here, and I didn't like seeing the screws on the back side there. This is awesome because I just had a bunch of holes in the firewall right there, and then now it's just slick. It's shaved. I mean, shaved, quote unquote. It's just a panel that's covering it up. That, Makes it look clean. This looks great together. The core support cover, inner fender cover, and then the panels that go inside. This is how you clean it up. Next, we're going to take off the master cylinder, unhook the push rod from the brake pedal, and now I'm just going to unbolt those 2 bolts, kind of set it to the side so we can get the panel bolted in here. We'll do that one first, that way I'm not scratching up this panel while I unbolt all this stuff. But we'll go ahead and get those panels on there, bolt up the master, get that one on there, and get this knocked out. Loving how it looks so far. Can't wait to see the final product. And of course, I had a heck of a time whenever I was bolting in this master, just because it's kind of hard to get to. I'm going to grab 13 extensions and a couple wrenches, ratchet wrenches, and we'll see if we can get this thing off of here. That one's not bad. Yep. Oopsie. All right, you're probably thinking, man, that wasn't hard. What are you talking about? All right, that one was pretty easy. I'll give it to you. I say that, but there we go. Yep, I dropped something. That was a little spacer down in there. So let me go ahead and find that before I lose it. All right. There was a snake out here yesterday. I thought it was a piece of trash laying on the ground, and then it was a curled up snake, just a baby snake, but kind of spooked me a little bit. I'm not a snake kind of person. Y'all ever met a snake person? Hey, no offense to all the snake people out there, man, but it takes a special breed to be a snake person. So y'all just keep them snakes to yourself. Might be able to wobble it. Wobble baby, wobble wobble. All right. I used to go to a club in Cookeville, Tennessee, and it was called Rodeo Bob's. And it's the same thing that you could envision whenever I said Rodeo Bob's. It's just a club. They had a free beer on Thursday nights, ladies' night. And the ladies there are just like you would imagine them. And that thing changed names, I think about 20 times. It was the library, Rodeo Bob's, and a million different names. I don't even think this is a 9/16. What am I doing? Oh, no, it sure is. It's just giving me a hard time. None of this stuff is clicking in either. Goodness gracious, I think the little gremlin came at night and stole away all the things that click these in here, so I just keep dropping stuff. Nope, I don't think that's gonna work either. So hold on. Oh, nope. That ain't gonna work. All right. See, this is the trouble I had last time. I could barely get a ratchet wrench. Oh, did it? Oh, this is why it took so long last time. Look, I got about 3 teeth clicking right here. So this is where I need that fancy ratchet that you just turn like a quarter of a turn, and it has like 1,000 teeth on it. So if you're watching, you got more money than I do, or you just trying to help a brother out, give me that 1,000 tooth ratchet wrench. Because, of course I decided to use the longest bolts possible on here because I wanted to bolt in really, really good. Golly, these bolts are long. I'm going to get a wrist workout. Ooh, yeah, it's burning. Let's go. Oh, yeah. And the longer this bolt gets, oh, yeah, I got to pull it out with it. There we go. Oh, am I going? All right. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, I would say that pretty much explains this C10 community. We're pretty insane when you really think about it. We keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. We're going to bag these trucks, we're going to drag the ground with them, and then we're either going to sell them or break them, and then we're going to fix them, and we're going to put even better parts on them the next time. Spend a ton of money. Like, you know what, I blew my small block on my LS, swap it. Then we're going to blow the LS, and then you know what, this thing ain't low enough. I'm going to put a drop member in it, 4-link, because I just need my rockers touching the ground. Then we tuck everything, we get the rockers on the ground, and then we're like, you know what, I got to get rid of those pinch welds. Let's go ahead and Z the frame, and let's lay those pinch welds. And then you have somebody that walks up beside you at the gas station and says, this thing got hydraulics on it? And you have to explain the difference in air ride and hydraulics. And then you're like, man, does people think my truck is just lowered and not bagged? That's how you know if you're really bagged laying out, is if people confuse it for a static drop, you're probably not low enough. Unless they're just ignorant to it, then, I mean, give yourself some grace. None of my trucks have actually laid all the way out. In case you're wondering, this is the longest bolt I've ever seen in my life. And I don't even know what's going on with, okay, I can just turn it by hand right here. Oh, it's almost there. Oh, come on, baby. All right, let's go. All right. Nice, nice. Let me grab that little spacer. There's the push rod. Let everything come out. Nice, nice, nice. We're getting ready to install this driver's side panel. We removed the master cylinder. All we have to do is slide this into place. Whenever you go to put this in, this part right here is going to be a tight fit right underneath this electrical. So what you'll want to do is kind of put it to the side and slide it in between the fender and the rubber just a little bit, and then slide it down until the electrical piece slides through here, and then twist it around and align it, and you should be good. But I went ahead and I used a little tool, this little tool that I used to pop my hubcaps off, and I just went in between the rubber piece and the firewall to break it loose, because mine's been painted before, so it was kind of stuck on there. Yours might not have any issue. I'm going to take a little spray wax and just spray right on that rubber, just to make sure it slides in there pretty easy. And let's grab the panel and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to pull this tight up here like this and get this line where I want it, as much tucked under the simple shocks as I can get it. And I'm going to start a screw on this corner and then work my way all the way up here, all the way to the edge right here. This one might be a little tricky to get to, self-tapping it, so I may have to take the master back off, but I'll get all the bolts that I can besides the one that I can't get to. And then we will plug everything back in, clean it up. This is it. We're getting close. Probably knock this out in an hour. All right, we got these installed. Very pleased with them. They weren't bad at all. I'm just gonna wipe all this stuff down, check them out. one last time. I like to always end whatever installation I'm doing with, I'll put up all my tools first. Once I know it's all installed, where it's just cleaning up, put up all the tools, get everything situated, and then wipe down whatever I'm installing, and then just stand back and look at it and ooh and ah, and be like, ooh, ah, that looks good. I'm really loving how the under hood of this truck is coming along. When I first bought this truck, under the hood was rough. I remember looking at it thinking, all right, this engine bay is not ever going to be anything special, but I'll clean it up and I'll do the best that I can with what I'm working with. But along the way, getting these inner fender covers, it's the first truck that I've used those on. Really love those. Once I put those on, I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to look nice. Put the front covers on there. Then it really started to come together. And then whenever I painted the engine bay, got it even just a rattle can satin black, I'm like, hey, this is actually looking really good. And got the engine painted up, and that really is what took it to the next level. But with a super nice engine in here, with the factory inner fenders, they just didn't look as good as I'd hoped that they would look. And then that's when Otis had messaged me and said that he had some of these inner fender panels that helps just clean it up and tidy it up, makes it look really nice. And man, he was right. And for these just to bolt in, very happy with them. And the wiring, I'll show you in just a second how I did the wiring. I just used some plastic little wire tie things and strapped down the wires, and they actually look really good too. Not to be hidden or anything, just to be out in the open. But very happy with how this has turned out. For this just to be a bunch of bolt-on panels that aren't super expensive. They didn't require me to change my hood hinges. These are factory hinges cut down with simple shocks on them. And I used the simple guide to cut out the hole. I mean, I've used pretty much a bunch of easy templates and things that don't require a lot of fabrication to get the look that you're looking at right here. So anybody can do this. I mean, anybody. All I did was paint the block. Zach at RS Restorations painted the block for me. I installed all this stuff. He put the cam in. Those are two things that I don't have an engine stand or the experience with cam, so he did all that. Did a great job. The cam on this truck sounds awesome. He helped me with the Flowmaster exhaust on here. So my buddies helped me with all the little things that I couldn't do myself, and then I've wrapped it up with all the things that I can do, the air ride, interior, and the panels here. But I think I've got it cleaned up enough. I'm going to walk around and show it to you. It's getting late. I just wrapped up the GMSS inner fender covers, but I wanted to show you guys The next truck, a lot of you have seen pictures or videos. This is the 1960. This is an X-frame truck with a torsion bar suspension, and I'm about to start on that as soon as they're done with my shop. So if you check out the shop here, this is a attached garage, and let me zoom out just a little bit. It's a HOA here, so I had to do an attached garage, so it's attached to the house, and I've got a family room upstairs, which is going to be awesome. But let me flip this camera around and show you. So this is a 20 by 30. It's not huge, but I'm thankful for it for sure. And got the inside. It needs lights. Got an echo in here. I just got the flooring for upstairs. It's right there. But here is the 20 by 30. It's 30 deep. This is as wide as what I have over there in the other shop, but I'm going to put cabinets along this back wall, and I'm going to try to leave the walls empty besides the little spot right here that kind of goes back. That way I can have the width that I need, and just the cabinets in the back, a fabrication station right here with all my metalwork and welding, and then some kind of pegboard. I've been looking at OmniWall, a metal pegboard setup, but that's where the compressor will go in there. There's a little room that has compressor and all that, but that is it. Hopefully in 2 weeks we'll have the concrete done, and then this is where I'm going to be building the 60. Got a lot planned for the 60, and I can't wait to get started on it. It's going to be sick. The cool thing about this truck right here is, even though I'm going to do a Porterbuilt front and back half on it, I'm going to use the factory cross member and show you guys how to delete the torsion bars on there and how you would bag this on a budget too. So I'm going to show you on the frame how I would delete the torsion bars, how I would bag the front, how I would bag the back. I would talk through it, and then when it comes time to actually strip it down to bare frame and to bag it, then I'm going to show you step by step how to do a Porterbuilt front half and back half on a 60 to 62 truck. So this truck's kind of going to be a guinea pig for how to bag a 60 to 62 on a budget, and how to do it to lay it all the way out. So the 60 is actually going to lay frame compared to Lucky and Francis that are about an inch away because they're on a factory cross member and factory trailing arms. But on this truck, you'll get to see both ways of how to do it. So hope we all learn. I'm going to learn a lot from it. I'm sure I'll mess up along the way, but I'm going to share that with you. And this is going to be a really cool truck. Can't wait to go ahead and wrap Lucky up with the speakers, seat belts, all the interior stuff that I'm doing to it. But it's coming together. It's real close. So hope y'all are enjoying this build, and to the next one. That is a wrap on the GMSS inner fender covers. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to purchase these, they're available on my website, simpleC10.co. It's an easy way to support me, support the C10 community, is by purchasing these parts directly from my website. So leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I've got lots of new videos coming. If you guys ever have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out. You can text me, my number's on Instagram, or you can just shoot me an email, thesimpleC10@gmail.com. DM me on Instagram or Facebook or any of the things, and I'll get back to you.